The first thing Princess Aelyra noticed about the human was that he did not bow. In the Grand Hall of Virellion Prime, where entire civilizations had bent the knee, where kings had lowered their gaze, where ambassadors trembled under the weight of her mother's presence, this human simply stood. So, come. Watching. Aelyra narrowed her luminous silver eyes. Interesting, she thought. Or foolish. The ceremony had been arranged months ago, though to her it felt like a lifetime sentence delivered in a single breath. A political marriage, nothing more. The Galactic Council demanded unity, and unity required sacrifice. She was that sacrifice. The Virellion Empire needed Earth. Not for its technology, they were centuries behind. Not for its military, they barely held influence beyond their local systems. No, humanity had something far more dangerous. Unpredictability. And that was precisely why her mother had agreed to the alliance. "Step forward, human envoy," the Empress commanded, her voice echoing through the crystalline hall. The man stepped forward. No hesitation. No fear. Aelyra studied him carefully. He was smaller than she expected. Humans were physically unimpressive compared to the towering Virellians, whose bioluminescent skin shimmered with energy and whose minds could interface with quantum networks naturally. Yet something about him felt anchored, grounded, real. "I am Commander Elias Vance," he said, his voice steady. "Representative of Earth." Commander? Not prince. Not noble. Not even diplomat. Aelyra's lip curled slightly. "They send a soldier to marry me?" she whispered to her advisor. Her advisor leaned closer. "Humans do not separate leadership from survival. Their warriors often carry more authority than their rulers." How primitive. But still, that explained the way he carried himself. Not like someone entering a royal court. Like someone stepping onto a battlefield. The Empress raised her hand. "Let it be known across the stars. Today the Virellion Empire and the human coalition are bound in unity. Through marriage we ensure peace, strength, and shared destiny." Polite applause echoed. Aelyra stepped forward, her flowing attire shimmering like liquid starlight. Elias did not move. Not until she stood directly before him. Then, and only then, did he incline his head. Not a bow. Acknowledgement. A flicker of irritation crossed her mind. "You do not bow to your future Empress?" she asked quietly. His eyes met hers, dark, steady, impossible to read. "I bow when I believe it's deserved." The audacity. Gasps rippled softly through nearby courtiers. Aelyra felt a spark of anger, and something else. Curiosity. "Then you will learn," she replied coldly, "that in this empire respect is not optional. And you'll learn," he said just as quietly, "that humans don't give it for free." The ceremony continued. Words were spoken. Vows were exchanged. But none of it mattered. Because from the very first moment Aelyra knew this would not be a simple political marriage. This human was a problem. The first weeks were tense. Aelyra expected compliance. Elias offered cooperation, but never submission. She expected silence in court. He asked questions. Challenging questions. Uncomfortable questions. "Why does the outer sector receive less defense support?" he asked during a council session. "Because they contribute less," a minister replied. "They contribute less because they're vulnerable," Elias said. "Which makes them a liability." The room fell silent. "You suggest we waste resources on weaker systems?" Another counselor scoffed. "I suggest you stop creating enemies faster than you can control them." Aelyra watched the exchange with growing irritation. "Commander Vance," she interrupted, "you are here as consort, not strategist." He turned toward her. "I'm here as someone who plans to survive whatever comes next." That was the first time she noticed it. He wasn't speaking like a politician. He was speaking like someone who expected war. Later that evening, in the private chambers assigned to them, Aelyra confronted him. "You overstep your role." Elias removed his jacket, setting it aside. "You underestimate the situation." "There is no situation," she snapped. "The Empire is stable." He looked at her. Really looked at her. "You believe that?" "Of course." He walked to the panoramic window overlooking the glowing city. Then why does every system we passed on the way here feel like it's holding its breath? Aelyra hesitated. They are loyal. They're afraid. That is the same thing. No, Elias said quietly. It's not. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And slowly something shifted. Aelyra began to notice patterns. Trade routes disrupted without explanation. Outer colonies requesting aid, and being ignored. Military fleets repositioned, not for defense but for control. And through it all, Elias watched, observed, prepared. You think something is coming, she said one night. I know it is. Based on what? He tapped a small device on the table. A projection flickered to life, star systems marked in red. These, he said. Every system that's gone silent in the last 6 months. Aelyra frowned. That's impossible. The council would have covered it up? Elias suggested. Delayed reports? Blamed anomalies? Her silence was answer enough. They're not telling you everything, he said. They wouldn't. They would, he interrupted. Because whatever's out there scares them. 3 days later, the first attack came. Not on the core worlds. Not on the capital. On the outer rim. A mining colony, obliterated in minutes. No survivors. No warning. Just gone. The council descended into chaos. Pirates. Rebels. Unknown anomaly. Excuses. Denial. Aelyra sat in stunned silence as reports flooded in. Then another colony fell. And another. Each one faster than the last. Each one closer. What are they? She asked Elias. He didn't answer immediately. The hunters. The enemy ships appeared without warning. Slick, black, silent. They didn't broadcast. They didn't negotiate. They simply destroyed. Virellion fleets engaged them, and were torn apart. Advanced energy weapons barely scratched their hulls. Entire armadas vanished. They're adapting, Elias said during a war briefing. They learn from each encounter, a general replied. No, Elias said. They improve. Aelyra turned to him. You've seen this before. He hesitated. Not them. But something like them. Where? Earth. The room went quiet. They came once, Elias continued. Years ago. Smaller force. Testing us. And you defeated them? A counselor asked. Elias's expression hardened. No. We survived them. What did you do? Aelyra asked later, alone with him. Elias looked at her. You really want to know? Yes. He exhaled slowly. We stopped fighting fair. The next attack reached the inner systems. Panic spread. The Empire was losing. Badly. We need a new strategy, Aelyra said during an emergency session. We are using our full military capacity, a general insisted. And it's failing, Elias said. Silence. What do you propose? The Empress asked. Elias stepped forward. Give me command. Outrage erupted. A human. This is madness. You dare. Enough, the Empress commanded. She studied him. Why should we trust you? Elias met her gaze. Because you're running out of time. Aelyra felt her heart tighten. Mother? The Empress looked at her daughter. Then back at Elias. You will have limited command, she said. Prove yourself. What followed changed everything. Elias didn't fight like the Virellions. He didn't rely on superior technology. He didn't meet the enemy head-on. He studied them, tracked them, lured them. He sacrificed a fleet. On purpose. They'll follow, he said. They'll destroy it, a general protested. Yes, Elias said. And then they'll think they've won. The trap was set in a dead system. No planets. No resources. Nothing of value. Except a minefield of experimental weapons the Virellions had never deployed. Because they were considered too dangerous. The enemy fleet arrived. They attacked. They destroyed the bait. And then, Elias gave the order. Space itself seemed to tear apart. Gravity wells collapsed. Energy spikes rippled through the void. The enemy ships, Adaptable, powerful, unstoppable. Shattered. For the first time. They lost. Cheers erupted across the Empire. Hope returned. But Elias wasn't celebrating. That was just one fleet, he said. They'll send more. Aelyra stood beside him watching the stars. You've changed everything, she said softly. He shook his head. No. This is just the beginning. She looked at him differently now. Not as a political burden. Not as a lesser being. But as something else entirely. You knew how to fight them, she said. Because we've faced worse. Worse than this. Elias looked at her. Princess, humanity didn't survive by being the strongest. Then how? He smiled faintly. By being the ones who refused to lose. The war continued. But now, they were ready. And as the next wave of enemy ships emerged from the void, they didn't find a divided empire. They found something far more dangerous. They found humanity, leading the fight. And at the center of it all stood a princess who no longer believed in political marriages, because she had witnessed something far greater. The moment everything changed.